everybody, so I have been getting tons of questions about this new camera I've been using and posting pictures of. Today I'm going to be kind of doing a tell-all about it and giving you some of my favorite camera recipes. That's kind of what they call the presets in this camera, which I'll try to explain later. Without further ado, let's get started. This camera is the new Fujifilm X100V. That's the name of the model and the brand. It kind of started blowing up. Hi, come here. Pickup wants to join. It started blowing up early last year when big photographers like Bryant and some other ones started using this, and I kind of got it right in that big wave last December. Since then, it's just gotten bigger. You've probably seen influencers use it, and even if you haven't seen the camera itself, I guarantee you a lot of their pictures are being taken on it. And the reason why this is so popular is because it's kind of coming off of that big film trend that we've seen. Film has been around, obviously, for a long time, but I feel like it's made a big resurgence in the past 5-10 years, but it's really expensive. It's expensive to buy, expensive to develop. You get limited number of pictures that you can take per camera. So this camera kind of does the best of both worlds between the digital and the film world, which is why it's considered kind of like a digital film camera. That's because essentially you can go into the camera and preset a couple of different settings in it that configure the camera like a film camera would. So there's a lot of different kinds of film that you can buy to put into a film camera, and you can take that base of different kinds of film and add on different things like grain, saturation, color, highlights, all the different things that make film what is film. The camera has space for 7 different presets, and then you can shoot within those presets and it'll automatically take your pictures like that. So essentially, you kind of are bypassing the whole develop and everything that sucks about having film. You're skipping all of that, and you're just getting to take the pictures, and then you can automatically upload them to your phone or whatever. People are really loving this, and I myself also love this. The camera itself also has an app that goes to your iPhone, so a lot of times I do my self-remote timer on my phone, and the photos do sync to my phone automatically, which makes things really quick. Almost every time I post them, people can't even tell that they're not actual film. Even though I'm sure there are a bunch of people who think it's fake, which it kind of is. So I've been messing around with this camera for quite a while, tried quite a few different presets and recipes, and I'm going to be sharing some of my favorites, especially for summer right now. If you're just getting started with your camera, I recommend just looking up on YouTube how to kind of work throughout the settings. It's a little bit complicated to get the hang of when you first get it, and that's probably one of the biggest complaints I have is it's a little bit clunky. You have to kind of know what you're doing, and there's a lot that I still haven't even really understood about this camera and its capabilities. But if you're just kind of looking to get the beginners little how-to, you'll start up your camera and then press menu, and from there, that first IQ selection, that's where you'll adjust everything to create your recipes. There are a couple different apps and websites that post recipes every single week, and I kind of just went through those, and when I started up, added 5 or 6 that I thought looked interesting or that I liked the vibes of, and kind of went from there, experimenting with my own and adjusting to new ones that I liked better. So the very first recipe that I'm going to start out with is the classic black and white. You would be shocked how many different kinds of black and white recipes you can make, and they totally change the vibes vastly. I wanted something very standard. I don't shoot in black and white often, so when I do, I didn't want it to be too crazy. So this is just kind of my basic black and white recipe. I went out and actually shot a few pictures for you guys to see kind of the vibes of this black and white. I literally just went downtown, so these aren't photography goals by any means. They're just stuff I was snapping on the side of the road to show y'all kind of the vibes of it. And here are 2 pictures that I took of this black and white filter downtown. Kind of basic black and white. There is a lot you can do with this though, so don't be afraid to mess around, try different things, adjust different things, overexpose it, underexpose it, do whatever your heart desires. Okay, the next one that I also did some test shots downtown for y'all to see the difference between the black and white and the color is what I like to call vintage color. I really like this one. I'll show you all a picture kind of while I talk through it. Essentially, the reason why I like this one is it pulls very vintage, but not so much that you have obstructions in the way of the picture. Quite a few of these, you can add a lot of grain and a lot of color, I don't even know what to call them, color leaks. I like those in certain parts, but this one to me is a very basic standard film preset. It works kind of everywhere, no matter what your lighting is, no matter where you're shooting or what you're shooting. This will give you a nice film picture without it being too crazy that you have to adjust a ton of things to be able to shoot. I like that it mutes the image. The colors aren't super vibrant, but they're still there. You can still see the color, still color, but it definitely does look like film that was shot in an actual film camera and developed. I've actually shot film that is very similar to this and looks just like this. Here are a few pictures that I shot on this, as well as the recipe at the end. This next one is one that I actually recently discovered, but I really liked in the place that I shot it. So I thought it was worth sharing because it feels very vintage if you're outdoors at all. This one is called Kodak Ektachrome E100V SV1. It's a long name. That's what it's put into in this film app that I use. This one will definitely generate things that are very yellow and orange. It kind of gives that like warmer tone things, and you can tone that down if you don't like it. Go ahead and adjust in your settings. Usually I don't like it. I don't like things to be too warm, but I was shooting on a really sunny day outside in a yellow-green field, and it turned out to be really nice. I was really shocked by it. This one is kind of fun, and it's very different than the other presets that I use. I loved this one in the place that I was shooting. It made things seem almost like glowy, a little bit hazy. If you shoot directly into the sun, this is a beautiful kind of recipe to use because it does give off that like warm sun, glowy. It just looks very summer. So I would recommend using this on a bright day when you're outside, and it's a really fun one to mess around with. Now, just to remind you guys in the middle of me kind of explaining these, none of these have been edited. Like, that's the beauty about this camera. A lot of times when I'm shooting other things on other cameras or even my phone, I take the picture and then I go through and I put it through some sort of software, Lightroom, Photoshop, whatever, to adjust the colors to what I like. And a lot of times, because the film is so popular right now, I end up editing things just like this, just secondary to actually taking the picture. So the beauty of this is it does it all at once. And that's why these pictures are so incredible, is because this is literally straight out of the camera. I have not touched this at all. I just took it, it went straight to my phone, and then I was able to post it, and it looks incredible. Also, these were kind of funny because I was on my way to Idaho by myself. I was driving by myself, and I happened to have a tripod in my car, as well as the camera. Pretty much go nowhere without this anymore. And I saw this really pretty field, so I pulled over on the side of the highway and shot these by myself. Like, I was sitting there with the tripod. This was on my phone tripod, so I kind of stretched it to fit. And then I literally was like in a field snapping them on my phone. So I was really skeptical to see how they would turn out, and they actually turned out incredible. I'm really happy with them. This last one is probably my favorite to use and one I will never get rid of on this camera. This one is called 35mm, and that's because it looks just like that. I actually have quite a few 35mm film cameras, and I love the coloring on them, and I wanted to create something just like that. So I found a couple different recipes, messed around with them, and ended up using this one. What's so wonderful about this 35mm film is I have used it in vastly different scenarios, with flash, without flash, in the dark, inside, outside, and every time it still works and it gives a very beautiful image. I haven't ever done these with like photography per se, or like people modeling, but I use them more in like candid moments, birthday parties, and just hanging out with friends, engagements, all these things that are just like happening, and you know, anything you would pull out like a little disposable camera of and just snap a little picture. That's kind of the pictures I've taken with this, and I loved it because of that. It gives like a beautiful film image, but I'm not limited to 30 pictures. So this one by far is probably my favorite recipe I've ever used, just because it's so versatile and works for everything. So here are a few pictures I've taken with it. The grain is obviously pretty high. It definitely looks like it has some texture to it, and the colors are also very muted. But again, these are all things you can adjust. When I started out, I liked to get like a base film recipe that somebody else used and then adjust from there from what I liked. Go ahead and leave a comment below if you have any more questions. I'll try to answer them, and if y'all are more interested, I can do another video, so leave your suggestions and I will read them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.